Dudes and Dudettes Multiplier here, and yeah, today, I say today, right now, we're doing the 4th video in the mini-series on Isotope Trash 2, and we're looking at the Convolve setting. So we've done a bit of filtering, we've done a bit of distortion, a bit more filtering to kind of refine our sound, but now we're doing the convolution reverb part. So this is normally the way I like to imagine it is it's giving your sound kind of a space and making it a bit more real sounding, and it's making it more interesting as well. So it's the best way to imagine it is like small room reverb. So it's not like this big long reverb tail that you can kind of hear trailing for a few seconds like you might hear in a cathedral or a valley or in outer space or something. But it's quite subtle. It gives it a bit of body, a bit of character, and depending on how you use it, it's best to use it quite subtly, but you can use it a bit more aggressively to just make some interesting shit. And I use it quite a lot, and it's the sort of thing you don't have to use as part of distortion. You can just load up Trash 2 and just turn on the Convolve setting, which is something I do all the time because it's awesome. So yeah, I'll show you how it works. So I'll just quickly kind of show you the sound we have so far. So I'll show you the sound without the processing, and then I'll turn the bypass off, and then that'll show you what we've done so far. Cool, so let's get to it. The Convolve's nice and simple. There's not too many settings, unlike some of the other bits. But fundamentally, you've got all these different categories down here: amps, body devices, effects, mechanical animals, tail, tone, vowels, etc. And each one has a whole bunch of different settings. And each one of these is basically a different kind of convolution reverb, really. And then you've got a few different settings to play about with. The mix is going to be the most important one. That determines kind of the blend between the kind of the fully wet, the fully reverbed kind of a signal and the completely dry unreverbed signal. So 100% on a lot of these, it can take a lot of the weight out of the sound because it's just fully reverbed. Whereas other ones, it's the best to leave it fully mixed. So yeah, the best thing to do is just kind of fuck about with the slider, and you can also mess about with the separation a bit. Just kind of, yeah, as it says here, delays either left or right channels to impart spatial separation. Don't personally use that one too much. The width one is quite nice. But yeah, best thing to do is to just focus on this mix slider. You got stuff like the gain, and you can change the mic mode. So sometimes it's nice just to jump between these different mic modes for the different microphone kind of processing they're using. But yeah, this mix is the most important one. So what we're going to do is just kind of have a flick through whole bunch of the various convolutions, and yeah, and that'll kind of illustrate. I'll leave the mix at 100 to start off, just so you can hear the variety of different sort of sounds you can come up with. And yeah, I really love this shit. So yeah, listen carefully. You might need headphones or good speakers as well, otherwise you won't hear the cool subtleties that are going on. Monkey. Bit of a side note, I got chased by a badger once. Anyway. cool. I really like that. So it's quite subtle. As you can see, I was playing about with the mix slider quite a bit. A lot of the reverbs kind of, a lot of the reverbs, convolution reverbs, don't make any sense with the bass at all, like the vowels. But it's definitely worth kind of flicking through the full list to see what sort of which sort of ones suit the sound you're going for. I also had to play about with this width because this particular one I chose definitely kicked the bass right out to one side, even when the width was at 1. And as cool as that is, especially for the sort of music I make, which is for like the club especially, and it's just kind of dance music in general, you can't really have the bass going that wide and that one-sided. But I pulled it a little bit out just to give that little bit of subtle interest, a bit of that subtle movement. And again, because the mix isn't that high, it's quite subtle, which is quite nice. Remember, subtlety can be all part of it a lot of the time. A lot of what we've been doing in all these settings is not adding these crazy, drastic, Skrillexy, kind of like in-your-face things. It's just adding lots of little subtle bits of interest to make the sound nice and interesting. So especially now, if we kind of bypass the original sound versus what we've got up to now, after some filtering, some distortion, some more filtering, and some convolution reverb, you can really see how the sound's starting to come together, and we've got quite an interesting bass sound from, to be honest, quite a shit original sample. The original is now. Yeah, just sweep the mix down a bit because just it's a little bit more subtle, which is quite nice. But yeah, cool shit, right? Absolutely love this bit. So good, especially if you find you've got a bit of a kind of unnatural, bit of a flat, a bit of a boring sort of sound. Doesn't have to be bass, can be anything at all. Just have a go with the Convolve bit, just cool shit. Right, 10-minute video done. Next up, we're going to skip past dynamics because fuck dynamics. This particular sound doesn't need it. It's pretty much just your standard compressor, gating shit, all the normal sort of settings. There's nothing particularly special. It's got some nice metering, some cool multi-band stuff, but it's the same as in all the other isotope kind of plugins, and yeah, there's 1,000,001 compressors out there. Just does the same sort of shit as the other ones, to be honest. It is quite a nice compressor. I'm not going to go through the details because compression is like a dark art in itself, and you could spend 10 hours talking about it. So cool. But yeah, and so we're going to leave dynamics turned off. And last video, we're going to dip into delay. And yeah, that's it. Nice and simple. Boom.